and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment.
Dr. G.
Now, tonight's guest is a returning guest. She's an elder in whom I am so grateful to have been able to make contact with. She's been here on the show before. I'm talking about
that's me,
Mama Kali Sichen El Dey, Ethnographer, Cosmologist, Astrologer, Herbalist and Healer, and also an author. Tonight, she's going to discuss how and why our ancestors laid the guidelines that now we must follow.
That's
A little bit about her background. Kali Sichen El Dey was born the 13th child and 7th daughter of an American Indigenous family, organic to this land. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition at CSU and completed academic classes in Traditional Oriental Medicine in San Francisco. In 2012, she was officially ordained to the divine ministry by the Grand National Chairman of Moorish America, Sheik Elihu N. Pleasant-Bey. Mama Kali Sichen El Dey says most of what she knows and has learned stems from her independent studies in various metaphysical disciplines, astrology, astronomy, world religions, ancient and modern world history, and through her many travels around this planet. All this was in preparation for the HipHop Hieroglyphs. Mama Kali traveled throughout the rainforests, grasslands, and deserts of North America, South America, adjoining islands, and throughout Africa. Some 20 countries in Africa alone, alongside her late husband of 33 years, ethnobotanist Dr. Kwaku Andu. His love was in discovering unknown plant species, and as his field secretary, always by his side, Mama Kali was able to continue her quest for wisdom in its highest form. They lectured in most of the major cities of America at major events like the Whole Life Expo, and in our own communities. They showed the photographs they took with Kodak snapshot camera. These pictures are still speaking today and providing more insight into the hidden world of most of our people are not aware of, the secret world of the elite. Why was Kali Sichen El Dey chosen to bring the message she calls HipHop Hieroglyphs? The answer she can only speculate. She describes her work since the late 90s with the Cosmic Prophecies of San Francisco as a multi-dimensional journey to open her eyes to the secret world hidden in the catacombs of the ruling powers of this planet. So secret, so hidden that most people will reject the facts that are hidden right in their faces. Now, in her elder years, and I say that with pride, elder years, Mama Kali explains that it's time to reveal that which was given to her to interpret and to share. Open your eyes to see and to understand and overstand and understand. It's deep. I want to welcome back to Office Hours, Mama Kali Sichen. Tonight, though, we're going to talk about what our ancestors laid, the foundation that our ancestors laid, and what we have to do to get this thing back on the right track. Welcome to Office Hours, Mama Kali. So glad to have you here again.
Thank you so much, my dear. I really, really appreciate your invitation. Now, can you hear me? I was getting quite a bit of background noise when
I
you
can
were
hear you.
speaking.
I hear you fine. I hear you perfectly.
Okay. Well, I was hearing some background, something like a little echo when you were going through. Okay. But
okay.
with the introduction. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, they can read it. Listen, I put all of that in the description. And if they want to know some more about Mama Kali, and listen, y'all, those of you who are on here, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, please hit that like, hit that share, let somebody know we're on. This is going to be deep, especially you sisters who have been interested in becoming a part of the women are ready. You want to be on this particular broadcast. Let somebody know that we are going to be talking about some stuff that needs to be done, but why we've already had a foundation laid that we need to follow. And we have one of our elder sisters, beautiful elder sister, Mama Kali Sichen El Dey, who is such a a light, you know what I mean? And I call you a firebrand because you are raring to go. You are ready to, as they say, you ready to go with that truth and with those and the truth and the troops, to get ourselves back into our right standing, right standing. We always talk, about standing on our square, but we got to be in right standing, and it goes further back that even then when we found out that when we called ourselves Moors, it goes back further than that. It's this ancient.
Oh, much further, much
Yes.
further, much further.
And so
Um,
go ahead. I want you to, because I don't know at what point I want to, because you already have a field manual for us. I'm excited. I'm
yes.
excited. I'm excited.
Well, that first time that I was on, I had sent a little booklet to you that
Yes.
actually I had started back in 2016. And what it was an illustration of, and it was the beginning of me trying to explain to people all of the things that the ancestors have put into place to actually tell us what's going on today. I was talking to someone today who was saying to me, so many people are lost. They just don't know what's going on. And so it's almost like they are just feeling their way through day by day and not really understanding that we are in a time of profound change. In fact, it's been maybe even 12,000 years since we've had this much global transformations happening at the same time. And I just felt a need back in 2016 to try to get people to understand. But since that time, so many more things have happened. And so it's just adding more and more and more to, like, the fact that we have well, let me name some of them. Okay,
Please.
we have the change of the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. We have the galactic center that we are moving through, which is bombarding us with cosmic energy and actually elevating our consciousness if we want to elevate. And see, a lot of people at this time, they don't even understand what that means. And okay, well, how do we do that? You hear a lot of people talking about, well, they're spiritual, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. But becoming spiritual is a process, and it is a long process. I was looking at some of my old material, and back in the day, when Dr. Endo and I had begun the North Scale Institute Education and Research Group, we had developed what we call Steps to the Temple of Light. And what that was what they called the seven arts, the 10 virtues, and the 42 principles of Ma'at. Well, probably most of us have heard about the 42 principles of Ma'at. Actually, there are 101. But, just like the 10 commandments, which are based on the 42 principles. And so, it's like, okay, Moses went and got 10 of those things that we need in order to actually elevate ourselves, So there's so much that is being neglected as far as development of the consciousness, right? And so, in elevating the consciousness, you have to train the mind. You have to train the mind in so many ways, and it's a difficult job. Now, those who were trained in the temples of Waset, or the temple of Luxor, or in ancient Egypt. And of course, there is some debate at this point, where was ancient Egypt? I'm thinking that we had a twin kind of development here on this planet, but that's neither here nor there. But it took 50 years for people to actually get it, to actually develop the spirit, and so that you could actually reach that place of spirituality that I hear so many of our people saying they there. Well, honey, I know. I've been on this road for 40 years myself, and I know that I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. I'm working on it. And I do know that I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. But there's so much that has to be done. There is the liberal arts, the 7 liberal arts we have to deal with, which include what? Grammar, rhetoric, astronomy, arithmetic, music. Music is arithmetic, you see. But the fact remains that we have to develop these skills within ourselves. Now, what I have said about some of us who did not get like geometry and those higher mathematics, which of course was a part of the training if you wanted to be a part of the Temple of Light, in the ancient Egyptian works. You had to take up these, but see, as you grow, you also develop, if you are wise and you learn from your lessons, because you see, Earth is a school. It's actually a prison school for you to
Say
develop
that
your
again,
own
please. Can
consciousness.
you? Yeah. Can you emphasize that? What kind of school is this?
It's a prison school because we have so many bondages on us. I mean, we are bound. And one of the things that has bound us the most is religion. You see, in fact, that's what it means to bind. And so during the Piscean age, we had the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions, which basically made us prisoners. Now that is not to say that religion is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that so many times in so many ways it has hampered our development, and especially our spiritual development. Like music. Let's look at there's were some of the Christian religions and even Islamic traditions that you're not supposed to listen to music. Well, that's one of the highest forms of civilization. So if you don't listen to that, I mean, how can you ever actually ascend? Because not only is music, it's mathematics, it's like tuning the brain, it's like all of these things that are a part of actually ascending into a higher level. And so, you have those 7 liberal arts, you have the 10 virtues, and those virtues are mostly about self control. Now, what are we being taught about self control now? Nothing. Who is to, except for in the religions that want to bind you? But that's not self control. That is control by some outer force. We have to control ourselves. We have to know what it is. First of all, one of the 10 virtues is what they call unction. Unction. I don't know if you remember Dr. Clark. He used to talk about what is your unction, and that unction is finding what your purpose is. We all come here with a purpose, but they tell us that we're supposed to get some money and buy a house and put up a pink something, American dream, which of course never applied to us.
Right, picket fence, 2 point something children, a dog, and a
Yeah, you'll spot, and that this was what we our life was about. Well, that has nothing to do with the development of the soul. It has nothing to do with seeking the higher consciousness and higher development. Now, why do I concentrate so much on that right now? We're in a spiritual war. It is very, very serious. It is a serious spiritual warfare that we're in now. We battle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities,
Powers.
powers in
Mm-hmm.
high places.
High place.
And I know that I heard Brother Taj talk last Friday. He was talking about, in fact, somebody asked a question. What is it that the Pope is doing now? He's calling in all the money. Why? Because the money is finished. Now, that
Well,
seems
the fiat. It's the fiat, and
and it's
furthermore,
not
doesn't it
even
belong to?
money.
Isn't it his? Isn't it his? It is his. It's his monopoly money. It's their
Right.
play money.
Exactly. And that fiat is finished. Nobody in the world is taking it. It is not, that's one of the reasons that we're in chaos and there's threat of war everywhere. There's a threat of war, but of course, a lot of that is propaganda too.
Yes.
You see, but the Pope did call in the fiat and he wants it all in his bank. Well, why is that? Well, it could be that those principalities that have actually issued all of that fiat, and force the rest of the world to use it if they wanted anything. Well, the people said, "Hey, look, you have imprisoned me. You have imprisoned our people. You have actually committed the greatest sins against mankind, for humanity, just for us to get the things that we need on a daily basis with this fiat that y'all done gave us." And so the people rebelled. And of course, we know too that they developed an alternative money system. I call it money, but it's not money because we do know that the only constitutional money anywhere in the world is gold and silver. Well, they took that away back in 1933. And if you had any gold, you went to jail if you didn't turn it all in. It's almost like what the Pope is doing right now. Hey, you got to bring all your fiat over here. You know what I mean? Well, that's what they did in 1933 with the gold and silver. But at least we still had some of the fiat backed by silver. And then in 1971, that was taken away. So we've been running around here insisting that the whole world do what we say. And if they didn't do what when I say we, I don't mean me and you or
Right.
any of us, but what I'm talking about is the powers that be or used to be. And I must say, it used to be. They are running scared now. Why? Because of the changes of the ages. In February, actually started in December, about the 29th of December 2019, you had like the beginning of the conjunctions of Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn represents the structure, the power, the ruling class, those who have the power in the world. Well, see, what it was about, especially Pluto gonna tear everything down. It's all about transformation. You see, and it's just time. It's time for this structure, this satanic structure, to be removed from the earth. And so this is what all of the conjunctions in Capricorn succeeded in doing. But like you know that if you're an octopus and you've got out your tentacles out there, surrounding and choking everyone, it's going to take a while for it to be dismantled. And so what we're seeing now is the dismantling of this great structure that has been in place seriously for the last 2,000 years, but actually is longer than that. It's more like 6,000 years that the Babylonian money magic, what do they call it? The money magic, Babylonian money magic, Babylonian sex magic, Babylonian blood magic, which meant that in the days of ancient Babylon, they maintained their power through sacrifice, mostly human sacrifice, and they created this money magic, that kept everybody enslaved. And the sex magic, which is so nasty, I can't think of a better word, that I mean, sometimes people will send you stuff, to show you how filthy, you know, people behave in certain sexual situations. And I could never look at it. I mean, I just couldn't look at it, because it just offends me so much, because that's not what life is about. And we have to get ourselves, our values straight. And that's the reason why we have to adhere to the principles that were set forth by our ancestors. First of all, to prepare ourselves so that we have the intelligence. We have the tools that we need in order to see what it is that we need to know. And if we don't have the tools, then we should be open to learn from people who do have the tools. One of the things that I have seen with our people is so much competition, which, of course, that's something that we have found that is a part of what they call democracy. It's not about all of us sharing and being a part of and doing what we need to do, in order for all of us to move forward. Democracy is about I got mine, and you go and get yours, and if you can't get yours, I'm gonna keep on taking from you. That's not what that is not what even this situation is about. I mean, when this country, of course, it was founded on Babylonian sex magic, Babylonian money magic, Babylonian. It was founded on that, because we have to remember that those who actually came here slaughtered the people, and then they raped the women. Then they put into place all of their children who would do their bidding and so forth. But when in 1776, or, well, that was the declaration, they they created the republic. Well, republic, a republican form of government is not a democracy. The democracy was brought in here in 1871 when the Pope took over. Now, I have talked to many people who are learned in political science, in political science, who didn't even know that there was an 1871 Constitution. Now, I've never had an interest in political science, but because of my studies with, the civics that I've learned with, Moors, yeah, I knew about this. And I learned about the difference between having a republic and having a democracy. And a democracy is just for those who are sitting up there, telling us what to do, which they're not supposed to do. You know, republic is supposed to be about the people, for the people, by the
We the
people.
people. Yeah, we the people.
We the people, which they said it nice, but they ain't meant none of that. You know what I mean? It's just like I remember that I had written and I did include that in the book. You know, um, Juneteenth 2.0. You see, because here the United Nations, which of course is a corporation owned by the Vatican, they wrote the Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People, right? Okay, we're indigenous to this land. We are not foreigners. We were not brought on slave ships. And the whole thing about it is, we all fell for that. I fell for it. Until somebody pointed it out. How could they have done it? There weren't even that many people. They weren't that smart. They couldn't have brought 100. I remember having a poster on my wall in my office that
Of
said
the ship.
100 million brought over here. How
Listen,
on
Mama
earth?
Callie, I just found the poster down when had the volunteer weekend. I got the poster, and at the bottom it has the drawing of the ship, which Rod has told us was actually an picture of Notre Dame
Yes.
that they used to
I didn't
create.
know that, but it sure does
Yes,
make a
and
whole lot of
you can
sense.
superimpose those so-called slave ship over the
Yeah.
standard arch of the Notre Dame, and it's perfect.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't done it, but I certainly believe it. But it couldn't have even happened like that because the people would have died within 7 days. You've got defecation, urination, people stacked on top of each other. How are you going to survive that? In the bottom of a boat. But we didn't think through that.
But you
Look,
know what,
hey,
Mama Callie? It's the same thing we didn't think through when we were given religion and the Bible. Because a
yeah,
lot of the things that we were told through religion and the Bible were just as ludicrous as the story of the transatlantic slave trade.
yeah.
It didn't, when you on second thought, it didn't make sense. But then, the
Mhm.
caveat was there that you don't question God and you understand it better by and by.
Right.
But back to
And
you.
and
I
and if
digress.
you
I
if
digress.
you dared to question, then you got put out. Your whole family would disown you if you
But
question anything that the
but
preacher
it was,
said.
and it's God either way you look, because when you look at it, government, or with the government ordinance department,
Hmm.
gold, oil, diamonds. So the things we didn't question those things, and they could call it
Hmm.
what they wanted. They meant one thing. We thought it meant the
Something
creator in the
else.
sky, and they
Yes,
meant themselves as rulers, as lords of the land.
absolutely. And if you tell people, even today, if you tell people the truth, they don't hear it. So I've gotten to the point where I don't talk a lot. It's hard for you to believe that now, I'm sure, because you give me a chance to talk and I'm going to talk, you know. But that is simply because there's probably an audience out there who's willing to hear. Perhaps they did not, yeah, I mean, they didn't just come in here, to make up, to just go crazy, or listen to something stupid. I hope not, because I certainly hope that I'm making sense. But getting back to developing the self, the consciousness, to embrace true spirituality, we have to do that. Because we're dealing with demonic forces which have been in control for at least 6,000 years. And if you consider that it could be 12,000 years since the last time that Nibiru came through here, you say Nibiru and people want to go crazy on you. But I have certainly seen that. And that was through the cosmic prophecies of San Francisco. You know, I forgot to tell you to ask you to put it in the description this time, but it is in my book. It. I did put like the URL for the Cosmic Prophecies of San Francisco under HipHop Hieroglyphs, which you can find on YouTube. But it's still kind of hard to find, So if you, but I'm saying it is there. And I
I
called
think
it.
I do have the link. You sent it to me. I'm not going to put myself out there and say I'm going to respond to everybody and send them the link, but I'll find it and post it maybe on the next go
Right,
round. The
right.
next time
Well,
I have a show,
yeah,
let me put it there.
and I kept saying to myself, I got to ask her to do that. But having this morning, I was off the internet altogether, and I got really upset about that
Well,
because
here's what I will do, Mama Kelly. I found out that I could go back after the fact and edit a YouTube video and description. I will go back and put it in the link in the description,
yes,
y'all.
yes,
So and so that the audience knows, even though we digressing a little bit, so that the audience knows what you're talking about with the hip hop hieroglyphs that you and Dr. Ando were able to chronicle. Could you give us just a little
okay.
bit of a background? Because I've seen the stuff, some of the what you sent me, so I know what you're talking about, but maybe they don't.
Okay. We actually we took it all over the country, and even to some of the islands, and we showed it in Britain too. Yes, we called it the Cosmic Prophecies of San Francisco, and what it was writings on the beach wall, and it all looked like graffiti, but it was these great big symbols that pulled us to the wall. And my first thinking about the symbols was that was the symbols of Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, which it turned out that Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in 2020 actually brought in the destruction of this system, the end of the remaking of this world, this dimension. And so that was what pulled us to the wall. But when we began to examine it, because we lived about 5 blocks from the ocean, Pacific Ocean in San Francisco. And so every morning before we went to work, we would walk. And it was about 2.5 miles there and 2.5 miles coming back. And along the wall, there was what pulled us to the wall, because we generally walked by the water. And depending on whether the tide was in or out, that would mean either we were about 100 yards from the wall or we were 50 yards from the wall, And so when we went to the wall, we saw that not only were those big symbols there, but that hidden in this graffiti for this whole 2.5 miles, graffiti, 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 there were all kinds of messages. And so we began to take pictures, after about looking at them. And I said, well, look, we got to chronicle this. This is serious. These are messages that are coming to us. And why? What is this all about? And so that question that I asked was answered. And the answer was Ptah.
Pata.
Ptah, Ptah, Ptah. And I said, oh, well, it could be Ptah. That's the ancient Egyptian molder of humanity, right? And I said, no, 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 it can't be Ptah. So the next day it was written again in another place, Ptah. And so, I said, well, hey, then it must be true. So let us make sure that we chronicle this because Ptah or somebody is trying to talk to us. But let me add on to that, that Ptah is also Enki. And Enki, of course, is the eldest son of Anu from Nibiru. Okay? And Enki was actually the scientist who created the humanoid called Lulu Amelo. Amelo, I hear people saying Amelo, so it's either Lulu Amelo or Lulu Amelo, which was the worker being. And that was spelled out, that was in graffiti on the wall too. I mean, that was like 75 feet long, and all kinds of messages up there. I need not a white heart in third dimension burns, third dimensional burns. Is that what's happening now? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so just all the messages. And so we actually put the story together, and it was something that we didn't know because I had never read about Nibiru. I had never heard of it. I knew nothing at all about Enki or Enlil or Nibiru or any of that. And so we were at a friend's house, and he gave me this book called The 12th Planet. And so this was one of the things that began to open that whole story that was on the wall.
Stitching. That's Zachariah Stitching, right?
Zachariah Sitchin. And I told you the last time I did meet Zachariah Sitchin and his wife.
Right.
When we were at one of these events, what was that? One of those New Age events, and Ando was speaking, on the Dogon cosmology, and we were in the presenter's room. You could go get some coffee and maybe a little sandwich, drink, something like that. And Zachariah Sitchin and his wife came in, and it was not nice. They were not nice people. So, but that's all right. So it didn't offend me. I mean, look, I'm used to that kind of behavior. I live in America.
Well, we'll say that it was not cordial because actually, what they were was nice. We now that we know what nice means, that's exactly what they were.
You're right.
They
You're
weren't
right.
cordial, but they were nice.
Were not cordial. They were not.
Yeah.
They were not friendly. They were not cordial at all. But that's not the point. The point is that was the book that woke me up. Okay, that was the book, and so after that, I actually read almost all of his books, and then Malachi York also wrote about them. And let's see. So it was a couple. Oh yeah, and what's the Baba's name? The shaman from South Africa, Credo Mutwa. He had written about them, but he didn't call them the names that were the Sumerian names. He had a different set of names for them, but he had written about them. Song of the Stars. And that's a book that I had written a very long time, had read a very, very long time ago. And so, so all of these things. So actually behind me is that map, which also ended up giving me another clue as to what all of these things that are happening now to change the world, that came about from the wall. And you see there are lines there. Let me see if I can. Oh, so you can see it now. I turned that back some. Can you see me okay?
We can see a little bit. Let me see. I'll bring you up so I
Oh,
see.
okay. So that's very good. So there are three white lines there. And what was on the wall were these numbers 104, 189, 104, 1, everywhere. It was just written randomly all over the wall, 2.5 miles. And I couldn't figure out what 104, 189 meant. And one day, doing, my yoga on the beach, I looked back and up. I said, oh, let me go and look at my star map. This star map behind me is really a very detailed map, okay, of the sky. And I went and looked, and 104 was pointing to the star Sirius. Look, let me get out of the way. Right here, the star Sirius. You see
Hmm.
that bright, it's the brightest star in the sky. Okay?
Okay.
And then 189 was pointing directly to the Virgin. You can see the Virgin right here. It's pretty good. That's not bad. Even though now the whole problem with trying to see this map is that it reflects light, and
Yeah,
I
there's a
have this light on. And so it's like distorting some of the things that you can see. But I said, okay, so here we have 2 points, but in mathematics, I would know that there's a third point there. I had the good fortune of actually taking a lot of math in high school. I went to a Southern segregated school, and I think the highest one I took in the 12th grade was calculus. So what they said to us about the Southern segregated schools is not all true. They had us thinking that all the schools were bad. But look here, when I first went to integrated school in the college, I actually went to a what do they call it? One of those high ranking schools. And honey sat down there in that class. I said, these folks is dumb. And I think that, let's see, I think I was the only melanated person in the class at that time. But I realized that they weren't that smart. I had gone to school in a absolutely segregated school, and I had geometry, trigonometry, calculus, algebra 1 and 2 in high school. But I know too that that's also very unusual. But I was in a very progressive. I grew up in a very progressive town, Durham, North Carolina, which also was one of the. I think that it's even been called the first Black Wall Street. But of course they tore that down too. You know, and put Highway 85 right straight through the business community there in Durham. But anyway, so the two lines, 104 pointing to Sirius and 189 pointing to the Virgin, Virgo, the third point pointed straight through the constellation of Cephas, the Ethiopian king. Now, what's so special about Cephas? Well, Cephas is one of the pole stars, one of the North Star. And what I found out, through mostly Dr. Finch, who is he's spent a lot of time with the Dogon in Mali, and they have that ancient astronomy, and of course the Zulu, they also have that ancient astronomy. And they say that Cephas is on his way up to the North Star right now. In other words, that North Star that we have now, is Polaris, which is the tail of the Little Dipper, or what some people call it, the Little Bear. But Cephas is right here. It's coming up to be the new North Star. And how did I find that out? Because of the cosmic prophecies of San Francisco, what apparently Enki wrote on the wall, And not only that, I mean, there were so many things that I didn't know, that was actually revealed to us in the writings on the wall. You see,
Let me
but
ask you
this
this.
major. Uh-huh.
Let me interject just for a minute. Now, I saw one picture where there was a man on top of the wall,
Right.
and it was a perspective picture, and he was
Uh-huh.
on top of the wall. These drawings were how, like in feet, how who, what would have had to have been the height of, if it had been a human being, to have been able to make those huge.
It couldn't have been. It could not have been a person to do that, because these images changed overnight sometimes.
And
I
they were
mean,
huge.
and I've shown that in the Cosmic Prophecies, the HipHop Hieroglyphs that's online. I've shown that. I've shown that the changes would happen overnight sometimes. Now, this is the one that you're talking about. Can you
Let me
see
see.
it? Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You see the
And there's the
man
man.
sitting on the wall?
Yes, you can see the man sitting
Okay.
on the wall.
That's Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And then that it looks like the celestial granary of the Dogon people, that opens out to the west, or it also looks like the iron smelting. They smelted iron way back in the day. Now you see that man sitting on the wall, right? And you see the car
Yes.
that's parked right there by the stairs.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You
Right.
see
Yeah.
how big
You're
those
right.
you see how big those images were? It's
Oh,
got to
yeah.
be what, 25, 30 feet tall? Take a
And they would
look.
have.
Okay, let's say that he doesn't look like a short man. So he's 6 feet tall and his legs barely touch the top of that thing. So if it's three of him, that's 18 feet. So let's say it's at least 20 feet tall. And look at the car. You see, and so there were these images all over the wall, and that's what actually pulled us to that wall, because this was very unusual. I mean, it wasn't there all the time. We walked that beach for 5 years, and this is what I think we first noticed it in 1995, around February of 1995, and so we kept taking pictures and everything. And wow, just being so taken out, and then when we found out what that 104 and 189 was, I mean, that was it. And also, there was another big event. We kept on seeing this bird, that looked like an ibis or ibis. And we said, well, where does this bird come from? And the thing about it is that the bird, would just walk in the path. we walked on the side of the ocean going there, and then we walked on the elevated where you see the man was sitting. We walked back that way because we had to get to work, you know, and so it was just a little faster to go that way. And so we said, well, why is all of this? And of course, the answer was that there is a change that's coming in this world, and everything you thought it was, it is not. And then there was the depiction of the G7, who were all disfigured, and one thing, there was the ozone written over it. And I said, well, these guys they're promoting, they're saying that there's this change. What did they call it? The global weather change. They got some fancy name for it. I don't try to remember all these things.
Global warming and all that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I am 78 years old. So it's not that easy for me to remember all that stuff. And sometimes, especially this time of night, shoot, I'm in bed by about 7, 8 o'clock. But I do watch videos at that time, but and maybe talk to my friend, but I don't talk to anybody else. You see, because there's a whole lot you can't talk to people about.
That's true. That is so true.
And I have one friend, Miss Ella, and you talked to Miss Ella the other
She's
day.
my friend too now. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes. You two firebrands, I call you.
What's that?
I said you two are firebrands. You two.
Oh, yes, we are. But so you can see why we exchange. You know that the internet we can't exchange emails anymore.
Right, you told me they won't let you.
And I never got your email. They have blocked me. But that's neither here nor there, because let me tell you, they can't stop what's happening. Like our brother Rod, Rod Hayes. I'm getting like a young elder calling him Haynes. He's not Haynes, he's Hayes. Yeah, but look at here, bro. He'd be telling us, "Hey, this is over." It is. It's over. But we have to stand up and claim what's ours. This is what we're doing. And this I mentioned it earlier about Juneteenth 2.0, because the UN has given us all that belongs to us back. The Organization of American States has given us everything that belongs to us back, in 2007 and 2017. And what have we done?
Nothing.
What?
I said, we haven't done anything to go. We haven't gotten our stuff. I mean, it's like, it's there.
Well, that's because we're crazy. Let me tell you. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, because this then brings me to another part of the book that, I need to let people know, as far as our elders actually helping us to get through, because I'm talking about stuff that came through so many dimensions to tell us that these things have, this stuff is over. It's over.
I'm going to plop this up while you're talking. I want them to know, keep on talking, that Mama Kali has a brand new book out, Global Transformations, The Rise of Feminine Power and the Ascension of the Ethiopian King, which is that's the Cephas, that's the star that you talked about, right?
Cephas, the Ascension of the Ethiopian King. But
Right.
the
So
feminine power is the return to the matriarchy.
right.
And
Now
the
this,
image on the
how long
front
has
of
the
the
book
book,
been how long has the book been out? Just because mine should come
it's
tomorrow,
only,
I think.
honey, I don't even have my copy yet. It just came out last week.
Right.
And so this is the paperback that's available, and then there is the hardcover that is also available. But I want to mention that this cover is Queen Califia, and I know I mentioned to you today, this is Queen Califia. And you said, oh, you didn't know her. Well, Queen Califia was a warrior queen of California. California's named after her. Califia.
Now I was familiar with Queen Khalifa, but I've never seen this depiction
Uh-huh.
of
It's a
of her.
it's a mural somewhere in Southern California. It's a mural. Yeah, but I think you're probably familiar with the one that's in that hotel that's on top of the hill there, the highest hill in San Francisco. She's got on these robes, orange robes, and then this golden jewelry and everything, and all of
Yeah.
her warrior queens are around her. That one,
Yes.
and the warrior queens, they're dressed just like what is it, Wakanda. I've always
Mhm.
told people that the movie Wakanda, what is it, Black Panther, was really about America, but because they don't want us to feel good, everything got to be in Africa, not that there's nothing wrong with that, but we do know that we are indigenous to this land, and I mean it's okay. What's wrong with us being indigenous to this land? I got Afrocentric people that won't even talk to me because, after I decided that or realized that they couldn't have brought that many people over here and then votes like they told us, and then I began to investigate my heritage, my look, my people been here. I done found them. I had never done that before. And I even found my mother in a picture that was taken in an Indian school, in North Carolina.
Mm.
I got that up on my, I got it on my wall, I got it on my, my laptop, my PC, the picture of my mother. She's standing in the middle of this, is about 40 children or 50 children and adults. This picture in front of this wooden school that was built for Indians. My mother's standing there in the middle. I never expected to find that, but that's what I found. It's sort of like the whole thing with the cosmic prophecies. I didn't go looking for it, it found me on my journey every day to try to get some sense into my head so that I could go and deal with the world. You know what I mean? It was really a meditation, going out by the ocean every day, and I don't know how many of you know San Francisco. If you're out by the beach, you're always in the fog. The only time that that beach is not foggy is for about 2 weeks in September. So, because that's the only time it's the fog roll, it the only time that is clear. So it's about 2 weeks in September. So the weather should be getting good in San Francisco right now. But all the other time, you're walking in the fog. And so we would be, it was like we step into a new dimension every time we went into, out to the ocean, which was just fine, because it was a meditation, you see. And so here we are, as I had said. So we have Cephas rising. That's the pole shift. You hear people talking about, oh, there's a shift. What shift? Well, this is why I try to explain to people what the shift is. Somebody say shift and don't tell you what the shift is. The pole shift, and Cephas will rise to be the new North Star. Now, what does that have to do with us? I don't care where you look in the world. They say that, if you look in the ancient books, they tell you that Cephas was the Ethiopian king. Never anything but the Ethiopian king. Even some of them, they got Ethiopian king and he's got blonde hair. But that's how they'll tell you that they're Ethiopian and then give them blue eyes and blonde hair. But that's neither here nor there.
What about the
But
prophecy that Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hand? Would that have
yes,
anything to do with her? Yeah.
absolutely. And this is precisely what's happening right now. You see, all of these things, all of these changes are telling us that it's our time. It's our time. And here we are sitting here going through Juneteenth 2.0, then got everything back, and we sitting here not even claiming it. Don't even know. Most of us don't even know. I think I'm getting a little feedback because I'm talking too loud. I get excited. I'm sorry.
You sound all right on my end. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
get excited. I get excited. I am Aries, but the only thing that cools me down is I've got a Libra rising. I got a Sagittarius moon. So here I am. I got all this fire going, and don't let me start talking about something, that I'm very passionate about, because then I get real excited and I get loud. My daughter tell me all the time, Mama, you just get too loud. But hey, that's me. And I have no apologies for who I am. All I know is that these people said that all of the mineral wealth of America belongs to the indigenous people. All of the mineral wealth of Africa belongs to the indigenous people. All of the mineral wealth of Australia belongs to the indigenous people. Remember, I sent you that. Declaration, the proclamation from the indigenous people of
And
Australia.
I shared that a couple of weeks ago when
I
Grandpa was
heard
on.
you.
Yeah, I read that too. That it was
Yeah,
right now.
they just stepped up and claimed theirs. Here we are sitting here talking about reparations.
They
Who wants
asked
reparations when all of this belonds to us? That's crazy.
a sister from Australia contacted me and ordered 2 flash drives, and she wanted to get it so quick. They wanted it expedited. There was about a month and a half or so ago. Before this came, before that was even written, she says, "Oh, we're moving ahead." She said,
And brother said that he met an Australian man when he was sitting in the mall down there in Philly somewhere, and this Australian man came up to him and say, "Are you Todd Street?" Remember he talked about that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And so they getting their stuff. They done told them people they got to get the hell out.
You got to go. You got to tell the
and so where is our no, I don't have none. But where you know what I was about to say. But where is our courage? We like the Lion and the Wizard of Oz. We ain't got no courage. Sit back here talking about ADOS, African descendants of slaves. I ain't no African descendant of slaves. Never have been. Never will be. And you cannot offer me any reparations. I will not take it. People say, you mean if they offered you some money? No, I ain't taking it. I want what's mine.
That's it.
And you're gonna give me some fiat and then got some small print down there saying that, well, now I done gave up all my rights to everything that's mine. I ain't doing that.
That's right.
Mm-mm. No, 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 no. And we have to have that kind of, first of all, knowledge. How many people here actually knew that the Declaration of Human Rights for Indigenous People was given to us? Our, our land has been returned. Hmm? How many people? You know? And so, look, I shared it with one sister who's deep into um, reparations. I think she's been secretary to one of these reparations things for the longest time. And I asked her what she thought of it. First of all, I had to beg her to read it. And then I asked her what she thought of it. She told me she would talk to me about it sometime, you know. So, I mean, it's sort of like, okay, what this is, it goes against everything that I have said and done and worked toward all my life. So I'm going to pretend that it's not there. Or you just straight up don't care. Or
Right.
you can't change from what you thought it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You thought that it was this when it was never that. You know, just listening to Taj, we know it never was what they said it was ever.
Right.
You know,
And
even
they always, it's like that though, Mama Callie, in with religious folks that are
yeah.
still, and every day you see indicators of those that believers who have who are coming out as not living the life that they purported to live, but yet
Right.
there's still, yeah, people are holding on. To me, the pandemic um was sort of a litmus test towards who your God was and what your God was going to do for you, because more than a few of those that believe that they were saved and that nothing would happen to them have left here because they fell, as they say, for the okey doke, because they were like all like sheep being led astray. They followed all of those things, and like I said, it was a litmus test, because if you were going to get saved or plucked out of some bad stuff, this would have been a good
Oh,
time.
you talking about what they call uh, those folks that thought that Jesus was going to come and take them. What they call it?
Yeah.
What
Well,
is it?
they
What
were
they
going to be
call it?
raptured, raptured, raptured,
Rapture, rapture.
raptured. And somebody said, y'all are confused because what's going to really happen is it's going to be a capture. When some aliens come to snatch y'all
Precisely.
up,
You
it's
will
really,
be captured in
you
your
will be
ignorance.
captured. Gonna be
You will be
captured.
captured in your ignorance. And people are
Yeah.
holding on to it. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to offend anybody,
It's just
but
the
you
it's
know,
just the
you got to
fact.
tell the truth. I am not one to bite my tongue. You can tell that, can't you? You know, well, you know, I mean, at some point, you have to realize that something ain't right unless you have bought into this whole thing about I go to work, I get a check, I pay my taxes, I get a house and a car and I change my car every 3 years, and I pay my insurance, and then I leave here and that's it.
Right.
Oh, and
No
I pay
purpose.
my tax.
No purpose, folks. Like you said, the unction.
The unction,
We
your
in the
purpose in
church we
life.
used to talk. Yeah, when the church, we used to talk about I got an unction from the Lord, but it was never looked at as purpose. It was just like maybe something you felt moved to do at that moment. But an unction is so much stronger than that.
Well,
That folks
yeah.
are not even listening to the voice of their own. I want to call it contract, because we have made contracts to come here to do things, and in the process of coming, the I call the period in the womb as the lulling us into a forgetfulness. I call amniotic fluid. I call it amnesia juice. So you
Yeah,
slopped around.
well, actually,
And
when
then
the
Rod
lights,
says, well, the other
yeah,
thing Rod
when
says,
the lights hit you, that's
when you
what
come
knocks
out
out
the
your
lights, so
memory.
the lights solidify it. The juice gets you into a complacency, and as soon as you hit, as soon as your head comes out, that's why they want you to come head first. Boom, the lights are like the things in Men in Black. You don't know nothing. You
Yep.
don't remember
Then your
nothing.
consciousness is gone. There are many people who will fight with you to the very end that they didn't sign up for this.
I know.
So when you don't, that's like not accepting who you are and what you have to do with your life. And it's you're the only one who can do anything. Nobody can change you. Nobody can help you but you. And you have to first know who you are. And then you have to actually consciously decide that either I'm going to be this or I'm going to be who I am supposed to do. That contract I made before I came into this world, into this prison planet, that contract I made, I'm going to fulfill it. You see? But you have to be into studying yourself, and I still haven't gotten to one of the major features in that book, my book. I haven't even called the title, The Rise of the Feminine Power and the Ascension of the Ethiopian King. What I added in was, I actually outlined Dr. Amos Wilson's uh, classic book, The Falsification of African Consciousness. Now, in psychology, you see, this has to be one of the greatest, um, one of the greatest books on the consciousness of so-called African people. Okay, the falsification of African consciousness. And this is what I have actually uh, outlined in this book, because he has explained to us how uh, the how should I call it, the Europeans have actually uh, created a false consciousness within the indigenous people of America. I will not call us black because we're not black. We are the Aboriginal indigenous people here. So I might call you Negro, but I ain't gonna call you black, but they have created a whole psychology, to prove that there's something wrong with us. You see, psychologically, and then they created a whole thing of medicine to correct what they have created as far as what's wrong with our minds. Okay, and so they are giving us drugs on based on a false psychology that doesn't fit into what they want us to be or what they think that we are not. You see, but and then they say that their psychology is great. We supposed to be emulating them. Ain't no way in God's world that I want to emulate the madness of these people who have held us in bondage for all these years. Now, Brother Rod says that they got some handlers behind the curtain.
That my thoughts exactly. We're doing this. We are connecting like we talked about earlier, because I was thinking about those that look like us that are not. I mean, they're the ones. They look like us but aren't us. That are actually the puppeteers, the
Uh-huh.
puppet masters.
The
You know,
puppet
we think
masters
we think
that
it's them.
are actually, what was that I was reading the other day? Oh, yes, I know what it is. I have another book that I actually edited and published back in 1990. Let me show you this cover because I'm going to put it out again. Okay? This is the Astrological Geomancy in Africa. Okay? Now, this was, how do I, this,
Oh,
this
that one.
was published in 1990. And so my friend Ella, she told me she had a copy of it that she bought back then in the 90s, and she said, "Hey, I read it. It's really good." Well, I just got around to reading it again. I mean, what, 1990? What is that? 30 years ago? Yeah,
I believe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because it's
32 years.
32 years. Okay, and so I started reading it again because I am going to reprint it.
Mhm.
What it is I was in Nigeria, and this Babalawo gave me a manuscript. He said, "Look, you are the only person that I know who knows astrology and has familiarity with Ifa." And I have this manuscript from 1898 that I want someone to publish. So he gave it to me. And so I took it and I actually edited it and published it in 1990. So it was almost 100 years old at that time. The manuscript, but it's by a professor by the name of Abayami Cole. Yeah, Professor J.A. Abayami Cole. And he was Nigerian, but he had started going to the Astrological Society of London when he was studying there in London. And, he said, well, listening to them talking about astrology, he said, well, shoot, this ain't nothing but Ifa. And so he got up and told them, hey, look here, I will show you how in our reading Ifa, it's the same as you reading the astrological chart. And so, in other words, he knew Ifa and astrology. And so he got up before the, Astrological Society of London to show them that, hey, we done had this for thousands of years, and you coming up with this, think you got something. Yeah, we done had it. And so, I'm going to put this out again. Actually, I didn't know how good it was, but one thing that I have found out is that my writing hasn't changed. I've been going through a whole lot of stuff that I wrote a long time ago. I wrote um, a paper for my astronomy class when I was a student back at San Francisco State in 1972. 1972, I was a student at San Francisco State. And so I was taking astronomy and astrology. No, no, no. Astronomy and anatomy and physiology all at the same time. Same year, same semester. And so, this thing they say as above, so below. So I'm looking at the human body and I'm looking at the stars and I'm saying, well, hey, there's no difference because we were learning about the birth and the death of stars and the phases that they go through and the constellations, and all of that. And by the way, the book, Global Transformations, The Rise of Feminine Power and the Ascension of the Ethiopian King, it gives you a it has a list of definitions for all these terms that I'm using. Because what I realize is that a lot of times, if people are hearing these terms, they don't know what it is. And so this is why I created this book in the first place. First of all, to give you a guide, to show you what it is, show you, it's just like this map, to show you what it is, you know, so that you will understand, you know, what is happening in the world today. Look, we don't have to be captive in this world anymore. We have to claim our status. In other words, what the Moors been saying all the time, you have to claim your nationality. Well, there is no nationality at this point. Uh, you know, you have to claim your status. And you have to do a reversion of a state, something that our brother Taj did such a beautiful job last Friday night. I told you I wrote it all down. I'm going to memorize it. In the statements that have to be made in order to revert the reversion of a state. In other words, I want my stuff back, and here I'm telling you how I want it back. And this is what we have to do. We have to do this. We can't be sitting around Juneteenth 2.0. How crazy is that? We're going through Juneteenth just like they say it happened down there in Galveston, Texas. Well, when Moors had, they were the ones who developed Galveston. Are you aware?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it was. It was the Moors who. I can't say that they did such nice things there, but it was a thriving economy. Even there, based on sugar and mostly sugar and rice and things like that, because that area, actually that's where they cultivated these types of grasses, rice and sugar and so forth, and those are grasses. Yeah, they're grasses.
Sugar and rice.
They're
Oh,
grasses.
well, you would
In
know.
the Bible it says all flesh is but grass. You know that. Is that Isaiah? I don't know. I don't know the Bible.
I don't know. Look, I don't forgot the Bible. I remember what I need to know when I need to know. The
Yeah,
rest of it,
I never knew the Bible.
it had to move
I
out for
was,
some other information.
yeah. I read the Bhagavad Gita
Yes.
before I really got to know anything about the Bible. Because I don't know. That was just what I did. When I started studying, I was led in that direction. Like I said, I've been studying now for more than 40 years. I was 21 years old, so it's like 45 years. When I got serious about studying, the metaphysics and and into and in the meantime, of course, I did my college work, and that's when I put together the fact that the human body and the stars are the same. They're created in the same image.
And aren't we but stardust, made of
Yes, we
stardust?
are but stardust harvesting starlight. You know,
That's
and
why we call each other. I call them the sisters, sisters,
yes,
sisters.
we
We're
are
sisters.
stars, and we have to understand that. Not that, you see, this can't be predicated on ego. That's what we got to get rid of. Just like this thing said, I remember I told you, this particular one from the Cosmic Prophecies, the Negro, where is it? Can you see it? It says ego and cash.
Let me bring you out. Let me see. So I was trying. It's not as clear to read, but I know you have. The
Yeah,
cash is there. Oh, cash.
actually, I can see right over that, right over that heart. You see, it says war. Take a look.
Um, I know you had me. You said that, but I don't. Even, I don't think I see the heart. I see something that's red. Oh yes, I
Yeah,
do. Over the
it's
top,
a heart,
in the corner.
and right
Okay.
over the heart it says war.
Look, listen. Well, ironically, what's going along the bottom of the screen? It says, "Let's band together, sisters, and make a difference." Text war, WAR, your name and email too. Because we mean it stands for us women. The women are ready.
The women
The
are
women,
ready.
the women are ready.
Ready.
You
The
know,
women are
see that?
ready. And we have to understand, and that gets back to Virgo, the Virgin. You know, we have to understand that she represents the matriarchy, the Virgin. And
Mhm.
we are returning to the matriarchy because the patriarchy had messed everything up. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
our Mother Kai, I like Mother Kai talks about the fact that we are not in the matrix, which is the womb. We're in the patrix, and she's in. So we
she's
know
right about
matrix,
that.
right? Yeah, she coined that patrix.
Yeah,
That's
look at
that's
here.
what
And it's crazy. Look at where we are now. You know, it's absolutely insane. The only thing that will save us is returning to the a matriarchy, which all indigenous cultures were matriarchal. What happened with the Babylonian thing, and that goes to that fight between two siblings, Inky and Idlil, or what is it, the other ones, those,
Marduk. What was
what is it?
There's some different. There even other their sons too. They fought,
Oh,
so it went on.
Set and
Oh,
Osiris,
Osiris, Set, yeah,
Set
Horus,
and
and
then
right.
Cain and Abel, same story.
It's over and over, like we
Over
say,
and
same,
over and over, same
same. You
story.
know what? Different day.
Uh-huh. A different dispensation, a
Right.
different era, a different eon,
Or
but the same
a
story.
different, even a different perspective of
Age.
the same, yeah, an age. But I mean, you had people in other cultures who saw the same, had maybe the same visitations, but had different names or indicate how they described
Right,
them, but they were the
right.
same entities or spirits that came, and that's why we see so much continuity
Hmm.
across the earth.
Right,
So much,
right.
yeah.
Well, that was patriarchal, although they had a great respect for the women. They did, because Inyana, the sister, you know, you became the king through the mating with your sister. That's what they did. So you were first in line as king if your father and mother were siblings. Now, this is the way the kingship was developed there, you know, on Nibiru, and they basically followed, a patriarchal thing.
And we
But
see that
on,
in other places. We see that here trying to be imitated. I'm where I am. We had, say, high profile family that was doing a lot, has done a lot in this state, and they are known for a lot of mating very, very, very close in
mhm,
their bloodlines. However, it didn't work as well because they had a lot of sicknesses and you
illnesses
know
and
illnesses and
insanity,
insanities, and
insanity,
they built a whole, yeah, they built a whole institution. They weren't just making nylons. I told them to say who they were, but they
Oh, I
made
know
a
who you're
drug
talking
dealer.
about. I
Right,
suspected
right.
that's who you were talking about.
Yes, but they built one of the biggest children's hospitals here, and it has stone walls up around it with glass embedded in the top because of what was going on behind the walls.
Behind that.
It was not initially for the public. It
Right,
was for what
exactly,
they were
because they
doing.
couldn't let you know that they had so much insanity in their own families. And getting back to insanity again, just like our brother Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, he said that how on earth could we accept their insanity as normal, which they want us to believe that they're normal and we're abnormal. So they created this whole insane institution around so-called black uh, 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 abnormal behavior, when they the ones that's abnormal. How can you keep your foot on somebody's neck for 500 years and be normal? That is going to do something to you too.
Eventually.
Because, and then this whole thing about superiority, they created that whole thing. What was the name? To try to, when they created this whole thing about white supremacy, so-called, Darwin, Darwin. And then they started measuring heads and stuff like that, talking about, oh, well, y'all inferior, because your head don't measure like us. And so it's crazy, absolutely insane.
But if
But
you look at some of those pictures, do you see what they look like? Did you see the drawings? They look like apes themselves. If you look at the phenotype of what they look like, the ones that were making these determinations, when I'm looking, I'm like, well, he looked like a Albion ape. I mean, he looks just they didn't look.
exactly. But hey, in the Cosmic Prophecies of San Francisco, they show you the gene splicing, and then the gene splicing to come up with the Lulu. It was gene splicing that Enki and his sister Inyana used to come up with the worker being the Lulu, which ate us. Okay? We were already in existence as a full man before, a woman, before that took place, you know,
Well,
and
they had
so,
to create something to work when the Ijiji decided
yes,
to rebel.
yeah, because
With their own,
Ijiji said they wasn't doing that work. That was
right,
below them. They were gods. Even though they were many gods, they were gods. They weren't going to do
right.
that work. They weren't going to get in those gold mines, and do all that work. They weren't going to do it, you know. And so this was what led to the creation of the Lulu, you know. And that it, when you see the cosmic prophecies and you understand the story, you know, that they pointed to uh, the fact that we have this fake news. They said there was a thing, there was a hieroglyph or, a graffiti that went like maybe about 50 feet. And it said, quip, twist, and skew. Quip, there are these quips, they twist the story and then they skew the story. This was back in 1995.
Exactly.
But we,
It's not but I wouldn't say that they just started doing that in the last 2 years. I think our eyes have become open because now, when that started happening, I went all the way back to, and this would be radio, and I wasn't born that, but War of the Worlds on the radio.
yeah,
All of the various things that they
Yeah.
did to
Uh-huh.
try to scare the people, put fear in the hearts, to
Well,
test,
see,
you know.
they were developing MK Ultra. We know about, or you've heard about MK Ultra,
Yes, yes,
mind control. They were developing this. See, you've heard of the Tavistock Institute.
absolutely, and all
Yes.
the stuff they come up with.
Honey, they took all the so-called brightest and put them in there to figure out how they go and control people's minds so that they could stay in power forever. See, it was all about staying in power forever. Even now, it's about
But they
staying in
got a
power
time
forever.
limit. Don't they have a time limit?
Well, they do have a time limit. That's
And
why
isn't
they're
it
running
over?
scared right now.
It's over though, pretty much.
It's over, but they haven't given up. See, it's like, okay, if I can't have it, then I'm not going to let you have it. Okay? And you've heard of these, well, if I can't have you, ain't nobody else going to have you, that kind of thing. And so they go and kill each other. Crazy. But this is what they're doing now. It's like trying to instill so much fear, and everybody got something else now, some other so-called pandemic out here.
Right.
But now, to me, let me tell you what it looks like to me. I haven't seen anything but pictures. I haven't seen anybody, but I did see the first AIDS patients in San Francisco. I worked at that hospital at that time. I always said that I'd never work at a hospital, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. One of the best things that happened, because it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to Western medicine. Okay. And so, what I saw with those first AIDS patients that came in, and they called it Kaposis sarcoma, Kaposis or Kaposis sarcoma. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. They're calling it something else now, but it looks like
Mhm.
what they had when they were coming in.
Well, we have to realize that for the last 30 plus years, there's been one man constant in that organization that is been, in the forefront of the things, starting with the A all the way down to the C and the O and everything else we got now, and everything in
Mm-hmm.
between. That character has been at the forefront of all of this. You have the book Emerging Viruses, which
Oh
talks about,
yeah, I got
world.
that book 20 or 30 years ago when it
Yeah,
first
I've
came
got it
out.
here yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
this one constant who's finally saying he gonna step down early, is been a part of that. So it stands to reason that you will begin to see variants of what they're calling variants of things they tried before, added with a little bit of new stuff, because they,
Yep.
come, because with all of the last 15, 20 years of us voluntarily sending our DNA to places like
Yes,
Ancestry
that's
and,
right. And they've been able
23
to target
and all of,
us.
we have given them the raw material
Mhm.
necessary to come up with bio
That's
this and
right.
that. We can't say that, but we come up with things that would target certain, you know people groups.
This it may be off subject, but it may not be. I was listening, looking at this video. They were talking about the uh, Sephardic Jews in the name of the book was Jews and Muslims in British Colonial America. And they were talking about New Amsterdam. Okay. New Amsterdam is New York, but
Hmm.
they called it New Amsterdam. Okay. At that time, because, they, some years ago, um, when they were building a new federal building down on Wall Street, when they were digging deep, they found a quote African graveyard, right?
Mhm.
Are you aware of that?
I think I saw a documentary of on YouTube about
Uh-huh.
that, and they were trying to move them ethically, or trying to make some figure out what they were going to, how they were going to move them or whatever, or preserve the site. I forgot what, but I
Right.
saw something.
Just like they've wanted to preserve our ruins here in this country. They've destroyed 90, I think 90, more than 90% of the pyramids and mounds that were here when they came. They done destroyed that. But let me get back to the African graveyard. So I'm hearing about New Amsterdam, and it was the Sephardic Jews who were Black Jews who actually put up the money to build the wall. And that wall was put there to keep out the indigenous people.
Hmm.
Well, it so happens that around that area was the first cemetery for the Black Sephardic Jews. So me, my mind gonna go to work. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And I said, well, where is it? Where was that graveyard for Sephardic Jews, who are Europeans? They're not from Africa. The indigenous people of Europe were also, quote, Black. They were melanated people. And a lot of our people don't know that either.
Right.
Yeah. They don't know that the original people. In fact, you can look at some of these paintings and see where they done scrapped the color off and are you okay, sis?
I
Oh,
just had
okay.
a tickle in my throat, so I muted myself
Oh,
so I could cough.
oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So the indigenous people, were a melanated people in Europe.
Right.
So they have just done a whole rewrite of history of Europe too, so that they could put themselves in to the history of Europe, right? So when I read, now this is a scholarly book. I mean, scholarly. Jews and Muslims and Jews in British colonial America. Okay. And so it was the Sephardic Black Jews who gave the money to build the wall to keep the indigenous people out. Now, these Jews are Black, okay?
Hmm.
But they were building that economy in New York at that time, you see, and their graveyard was right there. So I said to myself, now they done told us that this is an African graveyard here. It's in the same place as that graveyard for the Sephardic Jews who are not Africans. They're Europeans, you know? And I said, well, so this brother who has this African ancestry thing, he based it on that DNA that they got from the bones and everything that they dug up at that graveyard, which I suspect. I don't know this for a fact, but who knows what facts are these days? You know, they got facts and they've got phony facts. But anyway, so I'm saying now, and so I actually went to actually look, on the Google map to see exactly where this cemetery for Sephardic Jews was, and looked like it was in the same place as the one they said was African ancestry.
Hmm.
So this whole thing about what our ancestry was built around this, what I suspect to be, a lie about who was in those grapes. That's my suspicion. But Henry Louis Gates, he made a joke about the fact that the man who was doing African ancestry DNA, he made a joke about the fact that the guy was making this stuff up anyway. He was in front of a audience of white folks, and he was laughing.
I heard about that.
Yeah, you heard that, huh? Or did you hear it, or you heard about it?
I heard about it. I heard about it.
I heard him. I heard him with my
Okay.
own ears. He's laughing with the white folks about the fact that the the guy who's doing the African ancestry DNA made all the stuff up anyway, and he made a joke about Oprah. Said she was running around saying she was Zulu, and he said, "Well, make her a Zulu," and they all laughed. So I
And
mean,
you had a guy just sending a DNA of his iguana to 23andMe and came back with all these places the iguana was from in Africa, and he had a little bit of other nationalities in him too, but it was the iguana saliva instead of
this is what I'm talking about.
they
This
just,
is what that test they were giving us, to determine whether we had a certain cold over in 2020, 21, they did in Africa to prove their point. They tested a pineapple that was tested positive, so I'm not surprised at an iguana, you know. So that tells you.
there was another reason for like we said, for the collection of that DNA. It had nothing to do with telling you where you came from. I mean, but legitimately being able to discover, where you came from as far as the various ethnicities. It was everything to do with collecting the DNA for other purposes. And now, just recently, there was an article that and I'm not sure, there was something put out to warn people about the fact that your DNA could be used for nefarious purposes. It was just like in the last month or so. It was like in the national news. I mean, now everything is coming out. Now everything
Well,
is
the veil has been lifted because the
right.
time is, like I told you, we are at the end of an age, that age of lies, the age of false gods, the age of false reality, the age of deception, the age of madness, psychological and spiritual madness. This is what the Piscean age was all about. And we got captured up in it. But we can release ourselves now. We can do that. And this is the time, you see, the whole cosmos is behind us, working with us, pushing us. And we sit back here wanting somebody to give us a few fiat dollars. That's crazy. When you can actually become who you are, you got to put some work in. It ain't that easy. You can't say, well, I'm a queen, I'm a king, I'm this, I'm that, and then just walk around with your chest out. You got to do some work on yourself. And that's what Amos Wilson has given us, those guidelines, which I put in my book. The rise of the feminine power and the ascension of the Ethiopian king. I put the guidelines that Dr. Amos Wilson gave us to actually free us from this madness that was created by Tavistock Institute to try to convince the world that there was something wrong with us psychologically. And they created that, and then they created the medicine to treat us for the disease that they created, that they said that we had. And Dr. Amos Wilson did such a beautiful job of pointing it out. Now, his book was 140 pages long. I broke it down into less than 20 pages, just point, so that you could follow, and you wouldn't have to get caught up in a whole lot of psychology. But these are the points. You need to free yourself this way, because first of all, you got to realize you're sick. A lot of people don't know that they got psychological problems. Yeah, it's true. But it was created by this environment. It was intentional. It was a creation that was intentional. And then they gave you medicine to make you crazier. Mm-hmm. And make you dependent. And make you an addict. You remember when they were putting all our children on Ritalin? I don't know if they're still doing that. Too many people have found out about it. Now, I didn't know about that myself until I was living in San Francisco and lived next door to a white woman who had three black, but her own children, they were half, their fathers were melanated. And she was telling me one day that they pay her money extra from her welfare, to give the boys medicine. And I couldn't understand that.
Experimentation.
Well, they were some bad boys, I'll tell you that. I wouldn't have, children act out like that. Even, sometimes, if you're around children, I have to be careful now because sometimes it ain't my business. But children acting out in the street, back in the day, the old folks would say, hey, pull them. And say, hey, no, we ain't having that. Well, there was a time when I would do that, but now people walking around with guns. And I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. She said she does hair. She's a loctician. And she said there were several women who were in her shop. And all of them had guns in their purse. I have no problem with guns. I am not a person against guns, no. But if some small thing and some small thing happened, you pull out your gun and start shooting. What kind of crazy stuff is that? Why do we need that?
That's right.
It's gotten out of hand. I do believe you need to defend yourself. I do believe that you need to have, firearms around your home to defend you because we don't know. These people going crazy here. We don't know what kind of crazy stuff is going to happen. But to walk around and you got a tiny purse and you're going to put a gun in it, going to take up all the room in there. Where's your wallet? And so, I'm just saying that we have to work on ourselves. We have to release ourselves from mental slavery, because that's what you know the story about the elephant who had a ring around his leg all his life, and he could only go a few feet from this pole that was holding him with the ring on his leg.
Well, I've heard the story. I went to a course in 1990, and they I think it's the same story, but they start him as a baby with a strong rope,
Yeah.
and that kind of conditions them so that you can't get away from this rope. And then by the time they're full grown, you can put
They
a
don't
string.
leave.
They won't
This
leave.
is where we are right now,
Yeah.
because we have been so conditioned to stay in our place that we don't move. Scared to death to move. And I have to speak, I have to thank the Great Spirit from releasing me from mental slavery when I was very young. I was never indoctrinated on that particular, in that way. I've had an open mind. Now that don't mean that I haven't had psychological parasites, and especially emotional parasites, because you got to deal with people. You know what I mean? Of course, I've had my own problems that I have to deal with, and I face them, and I'm working on them, and I believe that one day I will actually get to that point where I can say that I have ascended spiritually, because that's my goal. It's been my goal. If I wrote a paper in 1971 that sounds like a paper I wrote yesterday, then I had to have that mind even there and then. You see what I'm saying? So it's just been a process to actually free myself from mental slavery, and especially emotional dysfunctions, because I've had to deal with people. And the first thing, I mean, it's really hard sometimes to release yourself from emotional bondage. It can really be very, very difficult, very difficult. But sometimes you got to leave people behind. If you want to save yourself now, if you want to let them rule your life forever, then that's a whole nother thing. That's your decision. That's the decision you made. But you can't blame anybody else for that. That's your decision. you know so you've got to be able to leave people where they are. You cannot decide what their mission is all about. Their mission is not your mission, and you have to leave them and what they have to leave, what they you have to leave them there.
Absolutely.
And it was really hard for me in some cases to cut cut it, because I cannot be who I just remember the poem. Let me think if I can remember that. I'm sorry I cannot be what you want me to be, because you see, I'm me. The character that you made doesn't fits mold. Let me see. The character you made does not fit the mold. I forgot. That's one of my poems from way back. I mean, like if you done made up a character that you want me to be, but that ain't me.
Right, right.
and
And all of us are guilty of that to a certain extent. Most of us. Most of us
absolutely,
are
and
guilty.
especially in close relationships,
Right.
especially. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I cannot be what you want me to be. You see, I'm me. My character cannot fade to fit the mold you made. Looks like to me we both should be free. Farewell, but to me you will always be special. Farewell to the love we almost knew. That was my poem. I must have wrote that poem, what, 30 years, 40 years ago. Farewell to the love we almost knew. But so you see, I gotta be me. I can't be who you want me to be. I'm sorry. I gotta let that go. And we all have to, at some point in our lives, assume that, or else we will be emotional slaves for the rest of our lives. And we will have been released from that rope on our leg and we still won't move. And I know you're about tired of hearing me preach.
Well, no. But I want to in these last few minutes. I mean, we're going to take a few. We're going to go over a little bit, but I want to, if you would encourage, especially the sisters, what we're, we can't say everything about what the war is about. Women already is about, but we will say that I will say that there are some, Mama Kali is just one of some firebrand elder sisters, and I guess I can, since I'm over 65, I can throw myself in there, but I'm a junior elder. Um, I'll be a junior elder. But we have some sisters that I have had the privilege of being connected with that are going to, I feel, are going to be such an encouragement to help
Mhm.
us get to that next level so that we can do the things we used to do. One of the things I wanted to recommend for any sister watching, if you can possibly get out and go see when it comes, I think it's next week or whenever, the week after next, The Woman King, just for a spark of inspiration. I can't tell you what all is in that movie because I don't know. I saw another movie that was highly, the trailers and all that was so exciting. And when I went to see the movie, it was so disappointing. And I'm hoping that that's not, I don't think that will be the case with this one, but I think it'll be enough to just kind of like be a little shot in the arm, get injected with that fire, if you will, of being all that you came here to be. But Mama Callie, if you could just, as we, encourage the sisters to the band together. I'm gonna put this back up, the little, thing, because I have been amassing. If you already sent me your name, your appellation, your name / appellation, whatever, and your email address, fine. But we're coming together. We are going to, Big Mama is calling, her daughters to come
Yep.
together and to be of one mind, but especially of one heart. That's
Yes.
why I can't put another background up because my spiritual guides are keep telling me, nope, you got to lead from the heart, lead from the heart, lead from the heart. Whatever you do, you got to do it from the heart. So that's why I can't take the heart down. I put other backgrounds up, and before I go live, the heart's up, right? Because that's what it's got to be about. But as we,
Yeah.
one, we encourage you. I encourage you to get Mama Callie's book. I ordered mine a couple of days ago, and I think it's due to come in either tomorrow or Thursday. By Thursday, I should have my book. But I encourage you to get that because she's telling you, she told us, and not just the women, everyone, because in this book, she has put the keys to what we have to do, what the ancestors already laid out, and what we have to do in order to, achieve that goal, of getting back to the place of I keep from a medical homeostasis, balance. We are out of balance. And just
Yes.
like Sister Inez and says in the chat, wholeness. We need to get the wholeness. Mother Kai says that wholeness. We need to get the wholeness or homeostasis, which is balance. And we need to get a one heart, one mind, one spirit. And that's what we want to
Right.
do with the sisters. But before we go, Mama Callie, if you could address that.
Well, I think that's what I've been preaching on, and I have to say preaching because I get loud and I start hollering and I say, "Well, hey, you know how when the preacher get up there and he starts out real low,
I
and then
remember.
and then a couple of sisters start saying amen and clapping and carrying on, and then he revs up and he revs up and he revs up, until he's to the point where he's hollering, and the more he hollers, the more the sisters just shout and get up. Before you know it, they up and doing the twerk. You know the twerk?
uh,
Mhm. But see, that is a part of the Holy Ghost. And you know what Rod says? He said the twerk is what make the earth shake. So
mhm.
I've been practicing it. I do my yoga in the morning, and then I am sitting down on the floor, and after my meditation, I will just practice a little of the twerking so I can get good at it. I'm like I said, you know, I'm, I'm a little, on the older side, but that don't mean I don't know how to shake my hips. Now, let me tell you, in Ghana, And I know Ghana well because I lived there I always thought I lived there 3 years. I looked at it the other day. I lived there 4 years. And I don't know. I guess I must have lost 1 year. But anyway, so at funerals, there's a funeral every Saturday. That's the big event. Everybody goes to the funeral. Okay, that's their event. Every Saturday they go to the funeral, and they be getting happy. They celebrate. They celebrate. Just like you see them with the funerals, in New Orleans and so forth. They
Mm-hmm.
celebrate. And then, if maybe the old ladies had a little bit to drink, maybe had a beer or something, or maybe a little of that Pinto, or that, what is the name of that? It's a palm wine, but the one that's distilled is sort of like vodka, you know, that high spirit, honey. They be twerking.
Yeah, they be moving
So
some
you
fast.
thought we was the ones doing that? I'm telling you, the old ladies. And then they put this pillow in the back so that, when they twerk, the pillow go bouncing up and down on their already big behinds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to change things. And the first thing we have to do is change ourselves. We can't change anybody else,
That's right.
but we can change ourselves. And we have to work on it. And once we change ourselves, then we will change the world. And here's another thing that I spoke about in the book, and that was a prophecy from the Ethiopian prophet. You know, my husband and I got a message from a prophet in Ethiopia when we were living in San Francisco, through a fax message. And, we got a message from a medical doctor who used to go to see this prophet that lived in the high mountains up there at the source of I think it was the Blue Nile. And he said he had a message for the women who lived, the melanated women, the Aboriginal women who lived outside of Africa. But he wanted to give us the message in person. And so this was in 1993. So by 1996, we had made arrangements so we could go. And so, of course, there's a whole nother story that, we were on our way to Ethiopia, stopped at the pyramids and found the manna of the Bible. And this is the book that was written based on that biblical manna, the spiritual message for the new millennia, Nile Valley Plant Survey. Okay, we found manna on the way at Imhotep's pyramid in Egypt. Okay. But we're on our way to Ethiopia to get this message. And so when we got there, we followed the Great Rift Valley going south from Addis Ababa, and we went to a town called Dilo. And by the way, we passed through Shashamani. That's the land that Haile Selassie gave to the Rastas. Beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful land. Ethiopia is beautiful. And so when we got down there to see the prophet, we had to climb the mountain because there was no road. And when we got there, we sat down in this bamboo bench, and the animals all came and sat around and sat down in front of us, and the people were all. And the prophet came out and he said, I have a message for you. I want you to tell the melanated women. He didn't say melanated, he said black. But I'm not using the term. If we use it, we got to stop calling ourselves black, okay? because that means you don't exist, and we have to get that through our heads. And so he said, I want you to go back and tell the women in the diaspora that they are the ones who will change the world. That's the message. We had to go all the way to Ethiopia to get that message, but look at the message.
Mhm.
You are the ones who are going to change the world. Well, when we gonna do that? We're still caught up in Juneteenth 2.0. Somebody give you something and you keep just like you still tied to that. You got your chain around your leg and you can't move more than 2 feet from this pole. That's mental bondage. And we've got to get out of that. We've got to get ourselves out of that immediately. But it takes time now. So don't think that you can just say it and it happens. No, it don't go like that. You got to do the work. You got to do the shadow work. And this is what I have actually put those steps led by our ancestors that ain't none of it mine. Yeah, I can't own it. You know, the 7 liberal arts, 10 virtues, 42 principles of Ma'at. That's not mine. But we need to have that in front of us so we know what we have to do. Okay? And then the falsification of African consciousness, that was Dr. Amos Wilson. Now, I did point out all these astronomical, astrological events, yes, because that's my knowledge. Yeah, I've been doing this stuff for the last 50 years, more than that, and so that's my knowledge. So I put all of that in there so you can see that this all points to the fact that it's time for us to do what we got to do. We are the only ones who could do it. The prophet in Ethiopia said, y'all the ones going to do it. So when are we going to stand up and do it? Let us do it. And the sister has actually created a war room. Women are ready. War room. Women are ready. We are ready, and we are ready to take our place as matriarchs of the new Jerusalem, descending from heaven. Who is that? That's us. We are the new Jerusalem. We are the ones. So, so let us embrace that. Let us take the chains off our minds. Let's get out there and twerk and bring this sucker down.
Twerk it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Bring
Mama,
it down.
that's right.
Bring
They say
it down.
in the Bible there was a story where they marched around the walls, of
Yeah.
Jericho or something 7 times.
It was a
And they
Joshua
probably
with the Battle of Jericho.
probably
Jericho.
was twerking. Look, the sisters was probably twerking around.
They was twerking. How
They
you
was
think
probably
that wall came down? They were twerking. That wall came down because, not because the men were marching, but because the women were twerking.
Mhm.
And so we got it. I told you that's what they do on Saturdays in Ghana.
All right. This has been a wonderful presentation, y'all. If I think I not think you need to share this video link with someone. Look at it again, get inspired. Please go out and get Mama Callie's book. Let's make
Please.
Amazon go. What the heck is in that book? Everybody's buying this book. Let's get that book, and that's going to be like required reading for the war room.
Well,
For
it
the
should
women,
be a study, okay?
but
Especially
not just for sisters. That's for everyone.
no, for everybody, because hey,
I'm-
talking about gotten some the messed up egos, and I even can say I understand, when our men have been kicked around so bad, and then they get a little bit of I don't know, I think it's just ego, but nevertheless, I can even understand that for them to just, feel good about themselves, but sometimes ego get carried away, and forget your own personal, that it's not just ego and it's not just money. It's about who you are in your heart and what you
Yes,
can do, what you need to do to elevate yourself consciously so that we can ascend into this next dimension.
absolutely.
Because that's the name of the day, it's the name of the game. So
That's it.
everybody get my book, get my book. If
Get
you
the
get
book.
if you go out and get yourself one pizza and three sodas, you done spent the same amount of money. So think about how you can actually elevate yourself, based on what our ancestors taught us. I'm just
Absolutely.
the instrument through which they have decided to help me to put it out in front of you. And by the way, that cover is Queen Califia.
Yes, it is.
She was the warrior queen of California. Califia is California. She was the warrior queen. She's the one that kept those bastards from coming into California from the ocean. She and her warrior sisters, and I was telling Dr. G, they look like those Wakanda warrior sisters, dressed the same way, except that they didn't cover their breast, but they had on gold, and and they had their spear, and they had their what do you call that thing? Um,
Shield is whatever.
yeah, the spear and the thing to keep you from getting hurt. What you
The
call that?
shield, like a shield,
Shield.
like
Yeah,
shield.
shield.
Mhm.
You could tell I'm tired. I'm forgetting the name of stuff. I
Listen,
told you I
we
don't
both
stay up
got.
this late.
I know. I thank you, Mama Callie. Though we appreciate Mama Callie. She's 78 years young, and look, she can stand toe to toe with the best of them. And like I said, it's a more sisters that you are going to meet that are. I mean, I'm so excited about the elders. I'm so excited about the elder mamas, and so is Brother Rod. Rod. So it's just wonderful how it's coming together. So if you
Yes.
haven't put your name on the list, please. We will be gathering soon. We're going to have a base meeting, and then we're going to be doing some things. But we're going to be doing, like I said, we will say this: the weapons, and we're not getting biblical, but you have to use certain codes. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We're not
No.
going to by carnal means, but
It's
we're
a
going back to our.
spiritual war. Remember that. It is a spiritual war. We
But just as
battle not
powerful.
against flesh and blood,
That's
but
right.
principalities,
That's right.
evil
Power.
coming from high places, what you consider the highest places. That's where it's coming from. And that's what our battle is. And we already won it. We just gotta claim it. The
Yes,
battle
yes.
is already won. We don't have to fight. We
But that
just
that
got
that
to take care of ourselves. And I don't mean just physically,
that's right.
spiritually, and not just saying it, doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Demonstration.
sister.
Signs. We're gonna have some real demonstrations of what we working with. And we got sisters that are very skilled in being able to even guide and train us on how to do certain things, certain things. We won't go no further. We won't go further because if I go further, I'll go too far. But we love you. I love you, Mama Callie.
Thank you. Thank you
And I'm
so
looking.
much for having
Yeah,
me. Thank
and
you.
I'm believing that they're gonna. Amazon is you're gonna go to the top of the Amazon list because we all gonna go out and buy that book. Like I said, I should have mine tomorrow or the next day.
We need it. We need it. I'm not just talking about it. You know, we need it. We need the guidance from the ancestors, and this is what I have put together for you and for me. Shoot,
and I believe that you were divinely led to do it. You didn't just put it together.
Exactly.
But it was a divine leading. So that's even more, you
just
were a
like
vessel
the cosmic prophecies.
That's right. So I will you all be updating the description for this particular show with the link to the video series so you can actually see the wall and see the different from the hip-hop hieroglyphs. I love that. Hip-hop hieroglyphs. That
hip-hop was so popular during the 90s, and this is like graffiti, so I said, well, it has to be hip-hop hieroglyphs. You know what I'm saying? That's how that name came about. Okay, then,
All right, y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
We've been talked all night. And all that. I said, you and I will have talked all night.
Yeah. Because we got to get off here. Don't know how to shut our mouth. Mm-hmm.
All right, then. All right. I'm gonna play a couple of promos, and then you
okay. Thank you so much. And everybody run out and get my book.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And peace to everyone.
Peace. Y'all, we thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm gonna try to let me see. I'm gonna try to play a promo, but it's been a minute. I kind of forgot what I was doing, y'all. But please go out and get Mama Kali's book, because she is, she has put her heart into this, and it's stuff that we absolutely we really need to do that. Let me see. Well, let me pray a couple of things.
Dr. G here, just checking to see if you've ordered your Chokeberry Plus. What? You don't know what Chokeberry Plus is? Oh my. It is an amazing berry that has the highest ORAC level of most berries known to man. Actually, it's a step higher than elderberry, and is much, much higher than berries such as noni, goji, and mangosteen. What is chokeberry, you ask? Well, chokeberry is an antiviral, it's antioxidant, and it's an immune system boosting berry. It also provides support and balance for blood pressure, the blood sugar, and cholesterol. Yeah, in one little dose that you would take a day that's very pleasant tasting, like a glass of fine wine, you are going to provide yourself with a lot of protection, especially in these times that we're living in. Like I said, it's antiviral, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory, among the balanced support that it provides for the blood sugar, the blood pressure, and the cholesterol. You want to know how you can get yours? Sure. Just text CB3L to 302-345-0500, and we'll shoot you out an order link. You want to get yours today, especially in these times we're living in. We need some added support and protection. So I highly recommend Chokeberry Plus. And let me say this: Chokeberry Plus, and the chokeberry is also what's known as the aronia berry, but all of the chokeberry products out there are not created equal. We've got probably the best tasting, and you'll feel it the moment it hits your taste buds, and it actually does some things as soon as it hits your mouth. I'm not going to talk about that, but it's going to be good for you, good for your family. You can get a 60 serving 3-liter box shipped out within 2 to 3 days, and it's going to come by priority mail insured. So again, text CB3L to 302-345-0500 and get your chokeberry today. Peace.
y'all. So I hope you get yourself some chokeberry. Also, I want to give a little bit of a shout out about this particular product.
Dr. G here to introduce you to a product that I have fallen in love with called GN-rooted Botanical Hair Serum. If you have dryness of the scalp, dandruff, hair loss, graying, just needing your scalp moisturized and needing to have your hair grow, you want to try this product. It is completely natural, vegan, has great, even you can see the herbs in the product. You can see it, it's awesome. It is making my hair grow. A lot of hair growth. Haven't had my hair washed in over a month. Don't have the dryness, don't have the dandruff or any of the things I normally have. Even the gray is starting to diminish, the little patches of gray. Get yourself some GN-rooted Botanical Hair Growth Serum by Sister Lisa Carr. I'm going to put the link down so you can get some. You're going to love it. Man, woman, boy, girl, try this product. I love it. I love it.
All right, y'all. And again, I want to take the opportunity to thank our volunteers from August 17th and tonight. But I want to thank you, brothers, for just your talent, your time, your love, your skills, all our next year together. We're almost there. And plan to what's Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching the comments. And I will update Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. 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 Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me.